Well, good morning and thanks for tuning into the breakfast news on Rajya Sabha TV this Saturday morning. Well, lots making news. First up, let's take a look at the top stories. Alert issued in 4 states over thunderstorms and heavy rains. District officials in West Bengal, Odisha, Bihar and Uttar Pradesh asked to take precautionary measures to avoid loss of lives. Prime Minister approves 2 lakh rupees each to the family of 124 people killed in Wednesday's storm. Top leaders on campaign trail in Karnataka. Prime Minister to address 4 rallies. Amit Shah and Rajnath Singh to also campaign. JDS, BSP chiefs to address a joint rally. Vice President to embark on a week-long 3-nation tour to Guatemala, Peru and Panama, aim to enhance bilateral cooperation and a level of political engagement with the Latin American nations during the Vice President's first overseas visit. NASA's latest mission, InSight, to blast off today from California on a 7-month voyage to Mars. Mission aims to map the planet's interior for the first time. And B. Sai Praneeth enters semi-finals of a New Zealand Open Badminton Championship in Auckland to play second seed Indonesian challenger. Javelin thrower Neeraj Chopra betters own national record, finishing 4th at the Diamond League Series in Doha. First up, let's get you all the news and updates from poll-bound Karnataka. Well, top leaders will be in Karnataka today with less than a week left for campaigning to end in the state. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address 4 rallies today for the coming up assembly polls in the state of Karnataka. The Prime Minister will address his first rally at Tumakuru. He is also slated to address rallies in Shivamoga and Bengaluru. BJP National President Amit Shah will also hold roadshows in the poll-bound state. Amit Shah will hold roadshows in Mysore, Pattana and Varuna constituencies. Home Minister Rajnath Singh too will be in the state to address election rallies. He will hold his first rally in Alanda, followed by Afzalpur, Chittapur and Chincholi. And JDU National President H.D. Devegowda and BSP President Mayavati will address a joint election rally in Kolar today. JDS State Unit President H.D. Kumaraswamy will also participate in the rally to be held at Pawan College grounds of NH 75. BSP Supremo Mayavati will also be in Karnataka for 2 days and will campaign in 3 Dalit-dominated seats for JDS BSP candidates. She will also visit Bidar and Raichur to campaign. Meanwhile, election to Jayanagar constituency in Bengaluru city has been countermanded following the sudden demise of the BJP candidate B.N. Vijayan Kumar there. The Election Commission said that the rescheduled election date will be announced later. BJP candidate for the assembly polls, Vijay Kumar, died of a massive heart attack at the hospital on Friday morning. He collapsed during an election campaign in his Jayanagar constituency. Vijay Kumar, a 2-time MLA, had never, in fact, held organizational posts of the party city unit. All right, let's go across to my colleague Kriti Mishra, who's joining us from Chamundeshwari. A very good morning, Kriti. Of course, today there's a lot of action happening in Karnataka. So many rallies and top leaders are going to be there in the state. But since you are in Chamundeshwari, tell us some more about the entire Mysore region. What are the key issues here and how the political equations are aligning in the state?
Well, Aishwarya, old Mysore region is the region that consists of areas that fell under the erstwhile Mysore kingdom. This was considered as the citadel of the Congress party, where the JDS has made massive inroads. This is extremely crucial for the Congress party because Chief Minister Siddaramaiah is contesting from Chamundeshwari, while his son Yatindra is contesting from Varuna. Both these assembly constituencies fall in this old Mysore region. Remember, in 2006, when Siddaramaiah had fallen apart from the JDS, it was in Chamundeshwari, where he contested the election and won with a wafer-thin margin of around 257 votes. Since then, the politics of this region is seen as politics of rivalry or politics of vengeance. The JDS is also a formidable opponent in the region because it enjoys the support of Vokaliggas, which is the dominant caste in this region. The BJP...
Well, we seem to have lost contact with our...
development...
well, Kriti, there seems to be an audio connection problem there. We'll try to connect back with you in the subsequent bulletins. Thank you so much for all those updates there. And the BJP released its election manifesto for Karnataka on Friday with an aim to unseat Congress from one of its last ruling states. The party made promises to reach out to various sections, including farmers, women and students.
Only a week before Karnataka goes to polls, BJP's chief ministerial candidate B.S. Yediyurappa released his party's election manifesto on Friday. Reaching out to the farmers through its manifesto, the BJP promised farm loan waiver up to 1 lakh rupees borrowed from nationalized and cooperative banks and allocation of 1.5 lakh crore for irrigation projects. The manifesto also has a 5,000 crore rupee scheme to aid farmers against the effects of price fluctuations. A scheme to provide 25,000 rupees and 3 grams of gold for brides under the BPL category during the marriage and sanitary napkins for BPL women at 1 rupee under Stree Suvidha scheme is also included in the manifesto. Opening of 300 Annapurna canteens across the state is also a part of party manifesto. Having made alleged corruption under the Siddaramaiah government a major electoral plank, BJP also promised to restore the efficacy of the office of Lokayukta. Yediyurappa also promised to bring a white paper on the state's financial health under the Congress rule.
This is the manifesto for the farmers, this is the manifesto for the women, this is the manifesto for youth, this is the manifesto for common man of Karnataka, especially as to how we would empower the farmers of Karnataka. 3,781 farmers had committed suicide. So this manifesto talks about as to how loan waivers would be given. All the loans that the farmers had taken from the nationalized banks and cooperative banks up to 1 lakh would be waived off.
Opposition Congress has said that the BJP's Karnataka manifesto has nothing substantial in it. In a tweet, party president Rahul Gandhi termed the manifesto a poorly crafted fantasy built around a weak plot.
I don't think the people of Karnataka are going to give any importance of the manifesto of the BJP, because whatever the BJP had said during 2014 election at the national level, none of those promises have been fulfilled.
Last week, the Congress had released its manifesto calling it a voice of the people of Karnataka. Voting for 224 seats in Karnataka will take place in a single phase on May 12th, with counting to be done on 15th of May. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And Congress President Rahul Gandhi addressed rallies in Jayanagar and Kalaburgi on Friday. And targeting the central government, Rahul Gandhi accused it of favouring a handful of industrialists and neglecting the weaker sections. He also alleged that atrocities on Dalits under the present regime at the centre has risen. He also accused Prime Minister Modi for not fulfilling his promise of depositing 15 lakh rupees in the bank account of every Indian, and also for not providing 2 crore jobs every year.
वायदा किया था 2 करोड़ युवाओं को वायदा किया था हर साल रोजगार मिलेगा, हमें रोजगार नहीं मिला। प्रधानमंत्री कभी चाइना जाते हैं, कभी जापान जाते हैं, हवाई जहाज में उड़ते हैं और हमारे सामने कोई रास्ता नहीं है, हमारा रास्ता बंद। नुडिगंटे नडे मोदी जी, नुडिगंटे नडे, जो आप कहते हो आप करके दिखाओ। आपने 2 करोड़ युवाओं से कहा था रोजगार दिलवाओगे, करके दिखाओ। किसानों से आपने कहा था सही दाम दिलवाओगे, करके दिखाओ।
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Friday interacted with Karnataka BJP Mahila Morcha workers through the Narendra Modi app. And during the interaction, the Prime Minister said that India is moving forward from women development to women-led development, adding that women first is the mantra of his government and the BJP. Let's get to some other news now. Vice President, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu will leave on his first foreign visit today after assuming office. He will visit the 3 Latin American countries of Guatemala, Panama and Peru. And during the week-long tour, the Vice President will have over 25 engagements. Now, these include meetings and discussions with the presidents, vice presidents and presiding officers of these 3 countries and delegation-level talks, addressing the local Indian communities there and the students of academic institutions, besides visiting historical sites and places. Here is a report.
The Vice President will first travel to Guatemala on May 6th in what would be the highest level visit from either side. The visit would focus on various areas of mutual cooperation such as protection of wildlife, human resource and training and information technology among others. India has negative trade balance with Guatemala.
As far as Guatemala is concerned, they'll be looking at cooperation in training institutes, collaboration there, or in protection and preservation of wildlife. Those are 2 new areas of interest as far as Guatemala is concerned.
The Vice President will then reach Panama on May 7th for the second leg of his visit. Panama was the first Central American nation to establish diplomatic relations with India in 1962. India looks at Panama as a link to Central and Latin American countries, as it is a major logistics and financial hub and is known as the Singapore of the region. Panama has the highest presence of Indian diaspora of 15,000. Agriculture, education and economic cooperation will be the key focus areas during the Vice President's discussions with the leadership there.
Because Panama is an important hub for logistics, for shipping, for financing and banking, I think those would be other areas where we would be holding discussions.
The third and the final leg of the Vice President's visit will be to Peru. Talks with the leadership there will cover the entire spectrum of bilateral relations, including trade, commerce, investment, IT, medicine, space, defense and culture. India-Peru bilateral trade of about $3 billion is the highest among these 3 countries. Peru has become the founding member of the International Solar Alliance, in the formation of which India has played a lead role.
Peru is an important, country for mining. It is perhaps one of the largest countries for silver, copper, gold, etc. So we will certainly be looking at areas of cooperation in the mining sector, in Ayurveda, in medicinal plants.
The Vice President is leading a 5-member delegation on his first overseas tour. Akhilesh Suman's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
On to some other news. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be on a 2-day visit to Nepal beginning from 11th of this month. This will be the 3rd visit of Prime Minister to Nepal and the first high-level visit from India since the formation of the new government in the Himalayan nation. During the visit, Prime Minister Modi will hold talks with Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli. He'll also call on the President and the Vice President of Nepal and will interact with the senior leaders of various political parties there. Prime Minister Modi will also visit the historic cities of Janakpur and Muktinath. The state visit is in keeping with the tradition of regular high-level exchanges between India and Nepal. PM Modi's visit to Nepal comes a little more than a month after Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli had visited India. Oli had invited Prime Minister Modi to his country. And we'll take a very short break here. We'll be back with more news. Stay tuned.
They were blighted by adversities. Cleaved by treachery.
बहुत मन होता है कि ऐसा लगता है वहाँ पे मेरा कोई भी नहीं है, यहाँ पे सब लोग हैं ना, अपनी फैमिली तो नहीं है पर भी माँ नहीं है, पापा नहीं है ना, तो थोड़ा बोरिंग लगता है बस।
हम भटक गए थे, वो अगर हमारे बच्चे अगर जैसे सपोर्ट हमारा मांगेगा हम पूरा सहयोग देंगे, और जैसे हमने ज़िंदगी निकाली हम बच्चों को वो ज़िंदगी नहीं देना चाहते।
But destiny chose to give them the second chance on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back after the break. Now, alert has been issued in 4 states over thunderstorms and heavy rains. District officials in West Bengal, Odisha, Bihar and Uttar Pradesh have been asked to take precautionary measures to avoid loss of lives. The fresh warning comes just days after thunderstorm and lightning killed at least 124 people and left more than 300 people injured in 5 states. The Met Department has issued a warning of another dust storm in parts of Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan and some other states as well. Thunderstorms, gusty winds and heavy rains in several districts of eastern, western and Tarai regions of Uttar Pradesh may occur. In Rajasthan also, high-intensity winds and dust storm may occur in eastern and western parts. Weather Office has a forecast that a thunderstorm accompanied with squall is also likely to occur at isolated places over Uttarakhand, West Bengal, Sikkim and Odisha. Hill states like Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand as well as Delhi are also expected to witness thunderstorms in the coming 2 to 3 days. And in Telangana, at least 9 persons were killed as heavy rains accompanied by thunderstorm and strong winds lashed several parts of the state. The untimely rains which struck several parts of the state last evening also caused traffic snarls, uprooting of trees and electricity supply failures in Hyderabad and other parts of the state. The authorities have set up 2 special control rooms in Hyderabad and Warangal to receive complaints relating to electricity supply following yesterday's rain havoc.
Thunderstorm with gusty winds likely to occur over the coastal Andhra Pradesh for the next 3 days, and today only for Telangana and Rayalaseema. This thunderstorm activity at isolated places only.
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi has approved an ex gratia of 2 lakh rupees each from Prime Minister's National Relief Fund for the next of kin of those who have lost their lives due to dust storm in various states of North India on 2nd of May. Prime Minister Modi also approved 50,000 rupees each for those seriously injured in the storm. Meanwhile, Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh Yogi Adityanath will visit the areas affected by rain and dust storms in Agra and will review the relief and restoration work. The Chief Minister will also visit Kanpur to monitor the restoration work there. The Chief Minister has directed the ministers to visit the affected districts to monitor the relief and rescue operations and provide financial and medical relief to the affected families. 4 lakh rupees have also been provided to the families of each deceased and 2 lakh rupees to those injured who have received serious injuries and 60,000 rupees who sustained 50% injuries. And the Goods and Services Tax Council in its 27th meeting on Friday took a number of major decisions, including converting the GST network into a 100% government enterprise and also implementing a single form for GST filing from the current 3. The GST Council also decided to create 2 separate groups of ministers to look into the possible imposition of a 2% incentive for digital transactions and a possible imposition of additional cess on sugar.
The 27th GST Council meet held on Friday unveiled a new simplified return that would require a taxpayer to file only 1 return every month. This facility would become operational within 6 months. Till then, the current arrangement of GSTR 3B and GSTR 1 will continue. While composition dealers and dealers having zero transaction would have the facility to file quarterly return. GST Council approved principles for filing of new return design based on the recommendations of the group of ministers on IT simplification.
This return filing process, because the preparation of the new alternative returns and its implementations, the software necessary for this would take about 6 months. That has been approved by the council today, and within a period of 6 months that would be now made applicable itself.
Finance Minister Arun Jaitley raised the issue regarding the production of sugar in the current sugar season and difficulties faced by the farmers. The council deliberated over the imposition of cess on sugar, over and above 5% GST, and also over the reduction in GST rate on ethanol. However, a decision on this issue was deferred and a 5-member panel was constituted to look into the matter. The panel is expected to give its report in 2 weeks' time.
That the cost of sugar has risen beyond rupees 35 per kilogram, and the market price is between 26 to 28 per kilogram. And the sugarcane farmers are in deep distress. And therefore, can we impose some kind of a cess?
Finance Minister further said that in last 10 months, GST collections have been very good. The council also discussed the proposal of concession of 2% in GST rate on digital transactions to incentivize digital payment.
A 2% incentive should be given to those who pay entirely in the digitized mode. This would be subject to a cap of rupees 100 per voucher. And this would not apply to the composition dealers. There was a very detailed discussion held on this point. The majority was in favor of this suggestion.
Besides this, the council also gave a green signal to making the GST network a government entity. It means that the government will acquire the 51% stake held by private entities, and subsequently the centre and the state governments will hold a 50% stake each in the entity. Panchanan Mishra's report for Rajya TV.
India tops the list of the fastest growing economies in the world for the coming decade and is projected to grow at 7.9% annually. This projection was made by the Center for International Development at Harvard University. The report said that the countries have diversified their economies into more complex sectors, like India and Vietnam are those that will grow the fastest in the coming decade. It further said that India's productive capacities far exceed the expectations for its current income level, which contributes to the projection of rapid growth for the coming decade. Well, let's get you all the international news now. US President Donald Trump said on Friday that the date and location was set for a meeting with North Korean's leader Kim Jong-un and that the details would be announced soon. The White House has said that the historic summit with the Asian leader could take place this month as long as North Korea made certain concessions. Meanwhile, media reports say that ahead of that summit, North Korea would release 3 Americans held as prisoners. Meanwhile, South Korea has stepped up U.S. talks ahead of the looming summit. U.S. President Donald Trump will host his South Korean counterpart Moon Jae-in at the White House on 22nd of May. And during the meeting, Moon would brief Trump on his recent summit meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Meanwhile, North Korea has changed the time zone to match the South after last week's inter-Korean summit. At 1500 GMT on Friday, the country's clocks moved forward 30 minutes to midnight. And the official KCNA news agency said that the reset is the first practical step to speed up Korean unification.
Rudy is a great guy, but he just started a day ago. But he really has his heart into it. He's working hard. He's learning the subject matter. And he's going to be issuing a statement, too. But he is a great guy. He knows it's a witch hunt. That's what he knows. He's seen a lot of them. And he said he's never seen anything so horrible. As an example, 33,000 emails requested by Congress with a subpoena, and they get burned, they get deleted, and nobody says anything. Give me a break. So Rudy knows it's a witch hunt. He started yesterday. He'll get his facts straight. He's a great guy. But what he does is he feels it's a very bad thing for our country, and he happens to do it.
And China has denied US's charge that it used military-grade lasers to target American aircraft at a Djibouti military base. As per reports, the US has lodged a formal complaint with China, alleging that the Chinese military injured 2 US firemen by directing high-grade lasers at American aircraft in Djibouti. The Chinese Defense Ministry dismissed the accusations from US officials as groundless. In a statement, Chinese Defense Ministry said that China always honors international laws and that the laws of Djibouti as well, and is dedicated to safeguarding regional security and peace. And on to the other top story, NASA's latest mission to another planet is set to blast off today on a 7-month-long voyage. The mission, called the InSight, will drop a lander on the Martian equator with the aim of mapping the planet's interior for the first time. InSight mission's journey will begin at the Vandenberg Air Force Base in California, and the blast-off is scheduled for 4:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. It is scheduled to plop down on Mars on 26th of November this year, which is when InSight's real work will begin. The lander has a suite of instruments to deploy once it reaches Mars. It has a heat flow probe to measure how fast the heat rises from the interior of the planet. And another is a seismometer. It measures earthquake-like movements, and more equipment on the lander will be used for radio science experiments. And now news from Hawaii, where fresh volcanic eruptions from Kilauea have taken place, sending fountains of lava of about 100 feet out of the ground and destroying several homes. The Civil Defense Agency said that there were fissures on 3 streets, and it has told any remaining residents to evacuate from threats of fires and also extremely high levels of dangerous sulfur dioxide gas. The new activity comes a day after the most active volcano on the island, Kilauea, erupted, sending white, billowing clouds of steam and volcanic ash into the sky and prompting emergency officials to order mandatory evacuations. The volcanic eruption was followed by 2 major earthquakes as well. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, the island shook at regular intervals, but especially around midday on Friday, a 5.6 magnitude earthquake hit south of the volcano at around 11:30 a.m. local time, and this was followed about an hour later by a 6.9 magnitude earthquake. And on to sports now. B-Sai Praneeth has entered the semi-finals of the men's singles event at the New Zealand Open Badminton Championship in Auckland. He defeated Sri Lanka's Nikula Karunaratne 21-7, 21-9 in the quarter-finals. Praneeth will next face a second seed Jonathan Christie of Indonesia in the semi-final. And more good news, star Indian javelin thrower Neeraj Chopra bettered his own national record by clearing a distance of 87.43 meters while finishing 4th in the season-opening Diamond League Series meeting in Doha. Neeraj, who recently won a gold in the Commonwealth Games with a throw of 86.47 meters, was up against Olympic champion Thomas Roller, world champion Johannes Vetter, and Andreas Hoffmann. And in the process, Neeraj beat 2017 London World Championship silver medalist Jakob Vadilic of Czech Republic, who finished 5th. Neeraj had earlier the national record of 86.48 meters when he won the gold in the 2016 World Junior Championships in Poland. And that mark is also the existing World Junior record. And that's all in this edition of News. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day ahead.